So there are like two new news updates for the upcoming PvP game mode release. So on Paradoxum Games YouTube channel, they said to be victorious, you must slay the champion. And then on Twitter, they said to be victorious, you must slay the champion. But they also teased the fact that the full PvP trailer would be coming tomorrow. Well, tomorrow is today. And they have indeed dropped the player versus player trailer, except that's not the trailer. The trailer isn't released as I record this right now. It releases in 87 minutes as seen here, so I mean by the time this video comes out it would have been released and I would have already reviewed it, but for now there's only the YouTube shorts that the developers have posted. Meanwhile, the description that's shown off in this player versus player trailer. Now when it comes to the YouTube short that they've posted, the soundtrack that I hear here, that soundtrack sounds awfully similar to some other ambient sounds that's seen in Tower Defense Simulator, so I must speculate that some of the soundtracks that we've seen in some couple of Paradoxum Games shorts, they might be used for Tower Defense Simulator's PvP game mode. So the arena is calling your name, battle for your rank, reap the rewards, to be victorious you must slay the whatever. But I do think at the very least, this soundtrack that's seen or sounds here, I think that is very likely that it is going to be a soundtrack for the upcoming PvP game mode. Now, as for the thing that they're showing off here, it looks like, at the very start, it looks like a minigunner that they've posted here. You can see from the barrel and the, other barrels, that this is sort of a minigunner skin. So it looks like there's going to be a PvP minigunner skin. And this looks like it is the face of it. So to be victorious, you must slay the champion. So I think, possibly, because we know that they're going to be versus PvP leaderboards, and it's likely that like the top 1 to 3 people probably will get the champion name tag, it might be the case where they, instead of actually getting the champion name tag, they might get a champion minigunner skin, for example, like the ones shown off here. Additionally, this could be a leak for a potential boss enemy in PvP game modes. After all, at the end of high rank matches, it just spammed the Fallen King over and over again. What happens if it's the case where they replace that with, I don't know, this minigunner looking figure? It's not like minigunners have not been enemies in Tower Defense Simulator yet. After all, we have the minigunner plushie enemy in, I believe, Pizza Party. That's an enemy, so why not here? Oh, and before I forget, some people have speculated that these trophies and this minigunner and this, what I speculate to be a soldier or militant skin shown off here, they may not be skins or anything like that. Actually, someone suggested that these could possibly be charms, which I kind of actually agree with. Kind of look very similar to charms in that they have a stool of some kind and then like something on their plinth. So I think it's very likely, or there is a chance that these could be charms that you get from PvP game mode. And in very interesting news, about 20 minutes before the original trailer was meant to be released, the developers have decided to add a new link to the PvP trailer. Now, the only reason why I could think that this is the case is because either the original trailer had an error in it, or the original trailer had something that the developers did not want to leak for player versus player mode, given the fact that we are still a couple of days out from the update. Profine did then actually make an announcement in the game announcement saying PvP mode trailer update releases Wednesday, July 23rd, the original release date for PvP game mode. Okay, so the trailer for the Tower Defense Simulator player versus player has been dropped, and I would like to point out the fact that, well, there are a couple of things that have been leaked here. So the first thing I want to talk about is the soundtrack here. I'd have to assume that the soundtrack that is shown off here, it is going to be the soundtrack that PvP game mode is going to have. We know from Focus or Enthrall List that there is going to be a unique soundtrack for PvP game mode. We don't know what its feature is going to be. I would have originally thought that the original ambience themes for like Fallen, for Intermediate and for Easy would have been used in this game mode, and then there would have been a unique soundtrack for when the final bosses come out. But may not be the case. So after the initial renders of like all the towers lining up and this being, I forgot what this map's called, but it's like Work in Progress City, player versus player, new game mode. Honestly, most of this stuff seen here, we've actually seen previously, and the only thing that doesn't appear to have changed is the sending here, sending of the enemies, because this is very clearly Fallen mode. You can see the Fallen Soul, you can see Fallen enemies here, but they haven't actually updated it to current Fallen mode because there is the Heavy here. the Heavy's been replaced by the Fallen Dreg in current Fallen mode, so it looks likely that they haven't updated it. It also doesn't look likely that they've changed much of what we saw in PvP testing, because you can see here the last enemy that's unlocked is the Fallen Guardian on wave 26, which is the exact same enemy seen here. On this basis, it seems very accurate that PvP testing, what we saw previously, pretty accurate to what we see now. And I guess, yeah, you can see here, you got like some of the cash, you got economy, and then you got the tower placement limit. But given the fact this is just for testing and just probably for the trailer, I'd have to assume that this isn't accurate. This does indeed look like a high-level match, as you can see here, because of the enemies and the Fallen Drags. But then you can also see two characters here. One with a blue paintball outfit and one with a red paintball outfit. One would have to assume that these are characters that the developers have just dressed up for this occasion, but it could be the case where in PvP game modes, your avatars are just assigned to whether you're blue or you're red, which would be very interesting. I think visually that would be very actually deciding whether you can see your teammates or not, and actually would solve a lot of issues, because there is only a blue outline or red outline to determine whether you're their teammates or not. We also see the full expanse of the trailer leaks, or the short leaks that we see here. We see more ranks, as you can see here, rank up, so it's very likely that ranks are actually returning, or being added to Tower Defense Simulator, being leaked in 2020. Then you get more stuff seen here, so you got what appears to be either the Scout or the Cowboy, and then you got something that looks, I think, like the Medic Tower. And from the indications of what the developers say here, rank up and earn rewards, it does look like that these rewards are looks like they're going to be rank up skins from PvP game modes. If you ask me, what's likely to happen is you need to attain a certain amount of triumphs in PvP game mode. So for example, like the first rewards or the first rank is at 10 wins, then 20 wins, then maybe 50 wins, stuff like that. So it increases the amount of wins that you need per rank, and then after that you unlock a certain skin or a certain reward for attaining that level. Clearly here we're going to get some skins that look like, they don't really look PvP, they look more golden-esque skins, but it doesn't look like they'll actually give out golden stats, which, you know, many people might get too disappointed with. But then there's also the case where, like I said previously, there's going to be, or there could be, charms, and definitely looks like there's going to be some ranks. Interestingly enough though, the ranks do have some backgrounds. So here you can see red khaki, here you can see some black khaki, well actually khaki's green, but still, it's camouflage. And then here you got blue camouflage. So yeah, I don't exactly know what these ranks would correspond to. Here it does look, that looks like rank 1, rank 2, and then maybe what, rank 3 or something like that. It's maybe not the same progression, but it certainly does look like there's going to be like one chevron which indicates rank 1, stuff like that. After that we see more maps which we kind of knew that were coming to Tower Defense Simulator. I don't think this map was seen in PvP testing, except it was actually, never mind. Laser Stadium, Warmland, Crash Course, Judging Hall were released, and it doesn't look like any new maps have been leaked in this trailer either. But then the one kind of major leak in this update or this trailer is the fact that the enemy that we saw in the short, the YouTube shorts, the minigunner enemy, is actually, does appear to be actually, the final boss seen here. Now, if it's anything like the Fallen King in PvP testing, this will be the boss that is spammed at the end of wave 30, wave 31, etc., until one person wins. So it seems like they've replaced the Fallen King with whatever this minigunner enemy is. It does look like it can attack towers, possibly stunning them for a long period of time, so I guess rangers, mortars, stuff like that cannot be stunned. And I'd have to assume that the towers that's seen here, they're kind of placed with admin commands, because they're quite close to the path and very close together, I guess just for purposes of recording this video. Not entirely sure they can be placed this close together in normal gameplay. Now, a question that I would want to ask is whether the new enemy that's been leaked as like the minigunner PvP final boss enemy that probably repeats over and over again, does that enemy also appear in other wave structures? Because I do assume that the trailer has released or leaked some of the high rank trailer stuff. So for example, you have like hazmat, you see the hazmat, you see fallen souls, so that's clearly fallen mode, so that's the high rank wave structure. So I would have to assume that the minigun enemy replaces the Fallen King spawning in here of wave 30, and any other subsequent wave after that, wave 31 for example, that just repeats the wave 30 wave over again. But what about the earlier wave structures such as mid rank or low rank? because there's no indication of these, I would have to assume that these enemies probably haven't been replaced. I mean, in mid-rank matches, PvP matches, you do have a unique enemy. I do believe it's like the Molten Hazmat. That's the enemy that I was thinking of, that is exclusive to Molten PvP mode, which is the mid-rank PvP structure. What I'd have to assume is that depending on your rank, so everyone probably starts off with a low rank, for example, and then the more wins you get, the higher your rank match is. And what would I have to assume happens if you're paired with like a low rank person, for example, in like a 2v2? You choose your party, one person is high rank and one person is low rank. What I would have to assume is that you're automatically placed into a high rank match, because it'll be a little bit unfair if that high rank individual all of a sudden starts playing low rank matches. Therefore, I have to assume that the earlier you play this update and rank up your PvP testing ranks, no, not even PvP testing, the main PvP rank, the more experience you'll get and the more like high rank matches you'll get paired into, and the more likely it is that you'll rank up. One final thing is that this trailer is 38 seconds long, whereas the standard Roblox trailer, I believe, should be 30 seconds long. If it's longer than 30 seconds, I don't believe it can be placed on the Roblox game page, so I'm not too sure what the developers are doing here. That, or they're going to introduce a shortened version, as they did for Pizza Party, for the game page. Why the trailer is called Player versus Player trailer and not PvP game mode trailer, I don't know. I would have to assume that maybe the developers are just increasing the title length of the trailer, I guess for YouTube search algorithm, I'm not entirely sure. Or the developers fear that not many people may know what PvP means, even though I think everyone knows what PvP means.